Hope you enjoy listening. My husband thought he had cancer and didn't have long to live. He decided to divorce me and spent his last days with Tan Mai. Not only did he spend all the assets we had after the divorce, but he also borrowed another 5 million from a bank and spent it all. When the results of the medical examination came out, he was shocked. Today when I received the notice from the lab, I couldn't believe it. I asked again 3 times to confirm that it was true that the test sample was sent by mistake. Lakai's result was negative, absolutely no stomach cancer. I was so happy that I called a taxi from the company to go home, intending to tell Lakai this good news. Brother, I have good news to tell you. The sentence was stuck in the middle of the sentence. The living room was packed with people, filling the entire room. His parents, his uncles, aunts, and even Miss Tan Mai were present. Lakai's face was pale and haggard. He seriously held Miss Tan Mai's hand. Just in time, I also have something to tell you. No Van Hao, let's get a divorce. I felt like I had fallen into an ice cave, reflexively hiding the test result in my pocket, asking why. Lakai shook his head. He didn't have much longer to live. A dying person should be honest. Then I'll tell you, actually I never loved you. If it wasn't for your parents having some power that year, I definitely wouldn't have chosen to marry you. Because of you, I missed out on the person I truly loved, Chuvu. Now that I'm about to die, I don't want to have any more regrets. So I decided to use the remaining days to be with Van Vu. Van Vu, his childhood sweetheart, the one who was almost engaged to him, but the night before ran away with a rich businessman. During that time, Lakai suffered a great shock. His spirit was so broken that he could not recover. It was I who gently embraced all his emotions, healed him, and gave him hope for life again. On our wedding night, he hugged me tightly and said that in this life and the next, he would only love me. I was mentally prepared to go through the final stages of my life with him, to live a life of honor until the very end. Unexpectedly, the only person he needed was Tan Mai. Okay, that's good. Even though it was a misunderstanding, it was enough for me to see through the lies of the person beside my pillow. The corners of my eyes were hot, tears welled up, but I forced them back. When it's time to cut losses, it's not too late. I quickly adjusted my emotions and said coldly, okay, divorce then divorce. Lakai, just don't regret it later. Wait, my father-in-law stood up and said, if you agree to divorce, then let's discuss the division of marital assets. That's right, my mother-in-law agreed. Your house and money must be divided in half for my son. I was stunned and widened my eyes. Where else would I have the money? I bought those houses myself, so why should I share them with you? When Lakai married me, he couldn't even afford to buy the wedding house. I had to beg my mother to help me buy it. Even though we are jointly registered, all the money was paid by my family. Since losing his job 2 years ago, he has been staying at home with no income, while I work in a hospital, earning over 100 million a year. However, because I have to shoulder all the household expenses, raise the children, and take care of everything, the money has been spent, and there is not a single penny left. Lakai hid behind me and didn't say anything, while his mother-in-law almost spat on my face. Don't try to fool me, you think I don't know for sure. Your parents are very rich, you even gave me 200 million as a dowry. Where did you spend it all? I can't believe it. That was my dowry. You want to take my dowry after the divorce? The old woman sneered. You think I don't fight the rules? Now the rules are clear. In case of divorce, the dowry must be returned to the groom's family, and the dowry is joint property. Half must be divided among my son. I'm still the youngest and say, do you still feel ashamed? Lakai is about to die, what do you need so much money for? I still have to raise my child. Have you ever thought about the life or death of your son's only child? Cam is already 6 or 7 years old, she understands things. The little girl saw that her father and I were about to part, and immediately burst into tears, hugging her grandmother's legs as she cried. Grandma, don't let my parents part, I want my mother, I want you too. My daughter cried until her face was red. Her eyes were full of tears. Those immature words were like a needle piercing straight into my heart, causing my tears to almost flow out. But unexpectedly, the old woman directly kicked the little girl right in the chest. Cam was still young, she was kicked and flew away, hitting the tea table, her head hit hard and bleeding. Cam, I screamed miserably, rushing to help my daughter. She spoke first, hands on hips, and shouted fiercely. Who would want to be the grandmother of a useless girl like you? What kind of lineage is an unlucky daughter? Let me tell you, Avu is pregnant with our Lu family's son. There's no need for you to give birth to an heir. I hugged Cam tightly and said softly. Seeing the little girl crying in pain, my heart felt like it was being squeezed, it was aching. Cam was the most sensible child. Lukai's parents had always hated me because I had a daughter, they didn't like me. And then the little girl was also treated coldly. Ever since she could think a little, every time she went back to her hometown, Cam personally prepared food for her grandparents, massaged their backs and ran errands. A tiny child, carefully doing everything to please the whole family. Yet what she received was such cruelty that it broke her conscience. It was my fault for being useless, for not being able to protect my child. I hugged Cam tightly, my eyes determined, and said, Lukai, I'm telling you, I bought that house, the guild's property is my personal property. You had an affair and then asked for a divorce and you still want to take these things. Don't even dream about it. His Wenwu arched his belly, which was still unclear. Yu Jiang said, Sister, you're talking too harshly. Lukai and I are truly close relatives. Can you not use your dirty thoughts to judge others? In the last days of his life, I only wanted to be with him wholeheartedly. Is that wrong? I coldly smiled and looked at her belly, saying frankly, what you guys did is called dirty? You two are truly an adulterous couple. Holding my mouth, Lukai suddenly tried to give me a fiery slap. Avu just felt sorry for me who still didn't have a child, so she wanted to give birth to a bloodline for me to continue the Lu family line. Avu is a truly good woman, unlike you who couldn't give birth to a son, and is always jealous, wanting to climb up to the top of men. You don't deserve to talk about her. I was stunned by his shameless brazenness. Lukai's family was poor, and after getting married, he had no ability to make money. I was both a father and a mother, supporting the whole family by myself. I thought that if I didn't have any merit, I would have some hardship. I didn't expect that in the end, he would turn around and blame me for being too strong, wanting to climb over him. I just felt my heart go cold, my lips trembled. He was really too despicable. When it came to divorce, I didn't hesitate for a second, immediately called my parents, clearly stating that I wanted a divorce. My parents originally didn't like Lukai. They had long wanted me to leave him. Upon hearing the news, they happily clapped their hands in approval. The two families sat down together in front of the lawyer. Lukai put forward his conditions. He didn't need the child, but he wanted the house. He asked me to return all the dowry and give him half of the dowry. Even a lawyer with hundreds of battles had to face the shamelessness of this family. The lawyer frowned, trying to stay calm, and said, Mr. Lu, you can make your request, but the things you mentioned, the court may not accept. Still advised him to negotiate with his wife's family. Lukai turned to look at me, his eyes fierce, his voice full of threats. No, Van Hao, then I want the house. If you don't give me the house, then I will fight for custody. She is now 6 years old, no longer at the age where the court automatically gives priority to her mother. As for our village, he smiled as if he had one. You know, there are many families who need a girl of that age. I have a lot of ways to make sure you never see her again in this life. My fingers gripped the armrest of the chair tightly. My eyes were red as if they were about to crack. He lowered his head, leisurely brushing the dust off his shirt. Try it and see if I dare. My mother was so angry that her whole body trembled, hugging me and scolding me loudly. Shameless. Back then, how could I not see that he was such a shameless person? Lukai sneered, his face full of indifference. I was a dying man. What was the point of keeping face? Actually, there was no point in keeping it. I had mortgaged the house, secured the money, and now the money was in my hands. If I don't pay, this house will soon belong to the bank. Be good and transfer the house to me. Otherwise, you will have to bear the debt, haha. I was completely stunned. I did not expect Lukai to give his nephew so much that there was no forest left. That was the house my parents bought with their own money. What right did he have to mortgage it without my consent? Besides, don't forget, we are still legally married. The money you owe is also a joint debt. I have the right to half of it. He raised his head, looking at the ceiling with a smug expression. I spent it all. Anyway, now all that's left is the debt. You have to take care of it yourself. Do you want a daughter or do you want to take on 2 million in debt? You have to consider it yourself. I was so angry that my whole body was shaking. I almost fainted. Previously, I was tempted by Lukai's sweet words, and I suddenly softened my heart and added his name to the house's lucky number. That was the trap he had set to harm me. My father's expression did not change. He placed his hand on my shoulder and spoke to Lukai in a low voice. The house can be handed over to you, but you must promise that you will never be allowed to disturb my daughter again in this life, nor will you be allowed to see my grandchild, and don't even dream that she will have to take care of your old parents in the future, understand? Lukai immediately agreed without hesitation, coldly sneering, how long do I have left to live? Whether I see her or not is not important. As for my parents in the future, my son and Avu will take care of them. It's not up to a slut like her. My daughter, who was still sobbing, suddenly raised her head when she heard that sentence, tears drying on her face, looking at the man in front of her with a wicked look as if she had never known him. My father nodded slightly. Okay, you said it yourself. We both agreed and signed the divorce papers. The same day the procedure was completed, I moved out of the house with my daughter. Van Vu arrogantly ordered Lukai to move her things in, and threw the things I left behind out, his tone full of sarcasm and venom. The things of the unlucky daughter and her mother had already used, I didn't need them. What if it affected the son in my belly later? I was pregnant with a son. If I lived, I had to live in the best place. If I used anything, I had to use the best things. I couldn't let those unlucky things affect me. Lukai kept following her, smiling happily and nodding in agreement. I clenched my fists without saying a word, led my daughter downstairs, called a taxi to return to my mother's house. In the evening, after bathing my daughter, I took her to the small forest as usual, telling her fairy tales to lull her to sleep. Cam suddenly whispered sadly, Mom, Dad seems to have turned into a different person. I don't need Dad anymore. I love you. Dad is a bad person. If he doesn't need me, then I don't need Dad either. I hugged my daughter's small, soft body tightly. Mom loves you. Mom will always love you, forever protect you. The little girl raised her head, tears streaming down her face. Mom, is Cam really unlucky? Why did Grandpa, Grandma, Dad and that aunt all say that? I looked deep into her eyes and said seriously, Cam is not. You are the most precious gift that God has given me in this life. It's Mom's fault because Mom chose the wrong person. That's why you have to come into contact with such bad people. But Mom wants to tell you one thing. Even if you meet bad people, don't be petty or blame yourself. What we need to do is stay away from them. Live our lives well, understand? The little girl nodded slightly, contentedly falling asleep. I thought everything would end here, but unexpectedly, there were still people who shamelessly took the initiative to come looking for me. Van Vu seemed extremely pleased with herself for winning Lukai. Every few days she would send me messages to brag. Today there was a photo of her and Lukai hugging each other intimately like glue. So what if she only stole Lukai from me? What is stolen can never be kept. What is mine will eventually come back to me. The next day, she showed off her newly bought Hermes Birkin bag, which cost over 100 million. Has Lukai ever bought it for you? No, Van Hao, you are such a cheapskate. It's not that he couldn't afford it for you, but because he didn't think you were worthy. The person he loved from beginning to end was only me. Now he is preparing to move to a new house, which will be for us and our children to live in. I also have to thank the house that you gave up when you were foreclosed on. I sent the order and sent a message back. Should I be jealous of you? Jealous that you got love from a dying man and a piece of trash at that? I just felt cold. Before I was with Lukai, I was a little princess who was raised by my parents and had no cheap clothes. But after I was with him, in order to make up for him, I had to save every penny, even though my annual salary was over 100 million. In the end, I only dared to carry the cheapest cloth bag. When I gave birth, I quit my job to stay home and take care of my children. Once, while walking around town with some old friends, I saw a small calfskin bag, coveted it for a long time, and finally gritted my teeth and bought it. When I got home, Lukai scolded me again. Each sentence was like a knife stabbing my heart. He said, No, Van Hao, you are not a little girl anymore, so learn to be sensible. You don't need money for milk for your child. The whole family's food and living expenses probably don't cost money. You're so selfish you have to spend millions just to buy that torn bag. You think you're still a beautiful young girl, always dreaming about wearing lipstick and powder. No, Van Hao, I'm telling you, I, Lukai, can't afford a rich young lady like you. I just need a gentle and capable wife. You should quickly return that bag, only then can this life continue. At that time I cried and returned the bag. Lukai saw that I had returned the bag. His face immediately softened, and he sat down in front of me and said clearly, Van, how I did all of this for you for this small home of ours. Don't be angry anymore, okay? Maybe I was too soft-hearted at that time, so I finally listened. In this house, I was worn down little by all sorts of trivial things, from a noble lady to a tired, hardened woman. Many times I asked myself, was it really worth it? Why did I let myself become like this? But every time I thought about Lakai loving me, that we loved each other, I convinced myself that with love, I would overcome all difficulties, and then swallow all the resentment and bitterness inside. But in the end, I realized clearly what love was from the beginning. What he was aiming for was only my conditions. It was only after seeing that they could not get anything more from me, my parents firmly refused to support him, coupled with the fact that I gave birth to a daughter and he was diagnosed with cancer. He definitely did not need to pretend anymore. However, there was one thing that made me quite suspicious. Lakai was a dying man. Even if I used my house as collateral to borrow 2 million to temporarily buy another house, there would be no money left for Van Vu to live with him, and even give birth to his children. So where did Lakai get the money to subsidize Van Vu to live lavishly and enjoy life like that? I tried to probe and send Van Vu a message. He is a dying man, she gave birth to his child, never thought about the future. The message from the other side was very quick to reply. Every word was full of satisfaction. Lakai was willing to borrow money everywhere for her, sweeping all the lending platforms, just so that he could give her and her child a comfortable life in the future. He wanted to protect her, so he couldn't even bear to register his marriage with her. The loan amount is enough for you and your child to live comfortably for the rest of your life. Just don't worry. I answered the phone and laughed. Lakai was really digging his own grave. Even if he really had cancer, if the creditors couldn't find him, then couldn't they find his parents? He wasn't really sick. I was really curious. When the time came to pay the debt, he was still alive. What would we do? Van Vu was not the type of person to suffer with her husband. Otherwise that year he would not have run away just before the engagement night because he was poor. Yet Lakai still loved him and could not forget him. But perhaps more than anything it was because he was unwilling. With a person like Lakai, even his parents would not let him go. If he later discovered that he was not really sick, then the debts he had borrowed and the things he had spent for Van Vu, he would definitely find every way to get them back from her. Unexpectedly, the good show came so quickly. That day, I had a slight cold, so I asked for leave from work to take my child to the hospital for a checkup. Unexpectedly, right in the waiting room, I met Lakai and Van Vu. The two of them clearly did not see me. Van Vu sat on the long chair, his mouth constantly frowning and complaining. What else is there to see with terminal cancer, Lakai? Didn't you say you would leave money for me and the kids? Lakai's face looks ugly. You're not dead yet. Can't you go to the hospital to get checked if you feel pain? It seems these two aren't as sweet and affectionate as they bragged about before. I coldly led Cam to sit down on the bench, waiting for the test results. Unexpectedly, Lakai stopped me, his face darkened. No, Van, how, what are you doing here? Are you planning to sit and wait to see how I die? I glanced at him disdainfully. Mr. Von D had already made a joke. Did he need me to watch? My eyes swept past him and Van Vu. I sarcastically said, Lakai, this is the person you risked everything to have? You don't even want to take him to the doctor. As soon as Van Vu was mentioned, he immediately became angry and pushed me away. I was willing, no matter what she was like, she was still better than an ugly old woman like you. I raised my hand and gave him a sharp slap. Why don't you spend time worrying about your medical records? He was about to do something more, but at that moment the security guard noticed and shouted loudly, What are you guys doing? If you want to cause trouble, do it outside, don't cause trouble in the hospital. Lakai Hong glared at me, then took his ID card and went to print out the test results. He held the report, looking at it from side to side, his expression gradually changing from confusion and doubt to surprise and worry. He casually pulled a medical staff member who was passing by. Can you help me look at this? What does this result mean? The doctor quickly glanced over and replied, This is negative, no disease. Lakai could not believe it. Repeat again. He meant I do not have cancer. The doctor started to lose patience. Go to the clinic and ask your doctor for clarification. The X-ray clearly said that no malignant cells were found. Lakai started to panic and immediately turned around and ran into the clinic. Less than 2 minutes later, he walked out with a dazed look in his eyes. As soon as he left the door, He collapsed to his knees. Van Vu hurriedly ran to help him, worriedly asking, "What's wrong? What did the doctor say?" Lukai both cried and laughed. He hugged her. "I'm fine. The doctor said I'm fine. Oh Vu, I don't have cancer." Van Vu was stunned for a moment, then hurriedly asked, "Really? The doctor really said he was not sick?" Lukai nodded repeatedly, so excited that his voice trembled. "Really? That's great. Oh Vu, we can be together forever." But on Van Vu's face there was not much joy. She forced a smile. "Good to be healthy, good to be healthy." I stood there and observed for a long time, then said sarcastically, "Now that I can't die anymore, it's time to pay my debt." Lukai seemed to wake up, turned around to look at me, gritted his teeth and spat a mouthful of saliva at me. "No Van Hao, you didn't expect it, did you? Right after the divorce I discovered that I wasn't sick. You were my nemesis. Luckily, I was able to get rid of an unlucky star like you. What about the rest? The borrowed money is still with the Vu. Once we pay off the debt we can live happily ever after, and then give birth to a fat boy. Our life from now on will be nothing but brilliant." "What about her?" "No Van Hao. A second-hand item. After the divorce, who would want to take it?" "Haha." I shrugged, smiling meaningfully. "As long as you guys are happy. The so-called spiritual victory of the incompetent is just a madness." I also want to see when Van Vu has nothing left to say, will she obediently stay in Korea? The money has been spent, can she still vomit it out? I didn't expect the retribution to come so quickly. Not even 3 days had passed. Lukai and his parents had come to my parents' house, kneeling right in front of the door. My ex-husband's parents were beating their thighs and crying miserably. "Van Hao, open the door. We know we were wrong. We shouldn't have let Lukai divorce you. That bitch Van Vu is truly a curse. Not only did he run away with all the money, he also ruined the eldest grandson of this family. Now the moneylenders are chasing us to the door. Our whole family has been ruined by them. Van Hao, you are the kindest person. If your family has the means, please help my son a little." I was annoyed by the noise, opened the door and said coldly, "Don't. Am I not the one who brings misfortune to your son? Don't put a hat on me again. Your good daughter-in-law is Van Vu. Why are you looking for me?" Lukai's parents were so embarrassed that they couldn't even raise their heads. Their faces flushed red with embarrassment. Lukai curled up on the ground, slightly tilting his head, trying to appear weak but strong, revealing the side profile that he thought was the most perfect. His voice was quiet but full of sorrow. "Don't say any more, Mom and Dad. Don't beg Van Hao. I know I was wrong. I was blind and couldn't tell right from wrong. I confused Tui Tin and not Kui. I deserve this punishment. Mom and Dad, please don't make it difficult for her anymore. Just by him acting weak and strong like this, I soften my heart. 8 years ago, my parents opposed me marrying him. At that time he was also very kind, saying, 'Van Hao, don't make it difficult for me. If we are not destined to be together in this life, then in the next life I will definitely marry you. If only I had money, I would not let everything separate us like this.' After saying that, he gave a bitter smile that made my heart ache so much that I ignored everything and was determined to go against my parents to marry him. And now he was up to the same trick again. But now I was no longer falling for it. I let out a cold laugh. Okay, your son said so, I won't force him to do anything. After saying that, I turned around to close the door. Seeing that his old trick was no longer effective, Lukai immediately panicked, didn't bother to act anymore, shamelessly rushed over and hugged my leg tightly. Van Hao, I was wrong. Please save me. I really know I was wrong. If you don't save me, I really won't be able to live anymore. Cam ran out of the house, tried her best to push his hand away, hugged my leg tightly. Her voice was childish but determined. Don't touch mother and child. Mom is mine, not hers. Don't forgive them. Cam hugged my leg tightly, her voice filled with anger. Grandparents are bad people. They beat Cam, treated Cam badly, and weren't good to Mom either. Grandma even scolded Cam for being unlucky. Mom don't agree with them. The entire Lukai family's faces immediately turned pale after hearing this, but they didn't dare to get angry, so they could only force themselves to smile and flatter. Cam, your grandparents were just joking with you and your mother. You're their only granddaughter, how could they not love you? Who dares to say that our Cam is unlucky? Cam is the darling of the family. Cam just kept her eyes on them unmoved. I looked at the shameless faces of this family, and now remembered that Cam is their only blood. Back then, when Van Vu was still pregnant, Now that the child is gone, the delicious bait in her mouth has also flown away. The news has also gone without a trace. She suddenly remembered me and my child. I laughed coldly and picked up Cam Cam. Who allows you to call yourself grandparents? My Cam Cam's family name is No. My parents are her grandparents. She doesn't need a loser father, let alone a pile of shit on her head. Get the hell out of here as soon as possible. I turned around, slammed the door shut, and conveniently locked it, not paying any more attention. My parents were still in the room, listening to the whole thing, worriedly saying, those shoe-faced people, who knows what else they'll have time for. Van Hao, you have to be careful. I nodded. My parents were right. Dogs are very generous with that family's shameless and immoral style. Who knows what they will do next? I decided to leave this city, taking my parents with me to move. After all, my parents are retired, so it doesn't matter where they live. As for me, I'm still young. I can find a job in another city, start over, and live a new life with my daughter. So I immediately went to the new school for Cam Cam, completed the transfer procedures. At the same time, I also sold the house I was living in, preparing to sell it for good. Combined with my own savings, it was enough to stabilize my life in another city. I just feel a little guilty towards my parents who are old and have to follow me around the house. But I have no other choice. The internet is full of news about ex-husbands coming back to kill their wives after divorce, and my wife's family cannot risk their lives and the lives of their loved ones. I tried to take precautions, but something still happened. That day, when I went to pick up my child from school, the kindergarten teacher said that she had been picked up early. I immediately panicked and asked, what happened? Who picked up my child? The kindergarten teacher looked confused. The child's father came to pick her up. How could you, the mother, not know? I was so angry that my blood boiled and I questioned them indignantly. I had told you clearly before. The baby's father and I were divorced, and I had custody of the child. Who gave you permission to let him pick up your child without informing me? The teacher shrugged, her face full of disdain, her voice full of annoyance. Who would understand the troubles in your family? We teachers are also very busy. We don't just serve your family. How can we pay attention to every single thing? If the parents come to pick up their children, should we not let them pick them up? I pointed straight at her face, shaking with anger, and shouted loudly, nothing should happen to my child. If anything happens, I will definitely sue you to the point of having you go to jail. After saying that, I turned around, jumped into my car in a panic, and sped towards the police station. But halfway there, I was surprised to receive 2 photos. One was of a badly injured leg, covered in blood, bones sticking out, and flesh torn to shreds. The other was of my daughter lying unconscious. My heart clenched. I quickly braked, trembling as I enlarged the photo to look at the signature. After confirming that it was Lakai's leg, I temporarily calmed myself down and tried to stay calm. Right after that, Lakai's phone called. On the other end of the line, there was a sound of heavy breathing, as if he was trying to endure the intense pain. Yunhao, it's fine if you don't feel pain for me, but don't you feel pain for Cam Cam? I tried to force myself to stay calm. Lakai, what do you want in the end? Yunhao, I'm really at my wit's end. If I don't figure out a way to pay back that 5 million debt, I'll be killed by the loan sharks. You're the most capable woman I've ever met, even better at making money than men. Can you help me this time? Come back to me and remarry me. Otherwise, don't even dream of getting your child back. You know, nowadays little girls are worth a lot of money if they are sent to a ghost marriage. My blood rushed to my head, and my whole body trembled. Lakai, if you dare to touch Cam Cam, I will risk my life with you. I will drag you down with me. On the other end of the line, he screamed like crazy. Then let's die together, go to hell together. I only have half a life left anyway. No, Van Hao, you have 2 choices. Either obediently think of a way to pay off my debt, remarry me, and take care of me for the rest of my life, or go down to the ground and meet your daughter. My hand holding the phone was shaking, anger rising in my throat, but when I opened my mouth, all that came out was a choked, suppressed sob. Lakai, it's obvious that you don't need the child anymore. You're the one who insisted on getting a divorce. You're the one who borrowed money for another woman. Where did that much money come from? A sigh came from the other end of the line. His voice softened artificially. Van Hao, I know I'm sorry to you, but I'm really pushed to the limit. Don't your parents still have a house? Be good, sell it and withdraw the money to help me pay off the debt. I promise I will treat you and Cam Cam well for the rest of my life. I just felt my blood turn cold to the point of freezing. How can you be so shameless? You haven't drained me enough, now you want to dig up my parents? He replied frankly, think about it yourself, I have my limits of patience. Oh right, don't even dream of calling the police. I am the child's biological father. There is no use in reporting it. After saying that, he decisively hung up. I wiped my tears, gripped the steering wheel with both hands, my eyes cold as knives. Lakai was the one who forced me to do this. At 8 o'clock the next night, I carried the heavy suitcase to the location Lakai had mentioned. He was extremely careful, forcing me to change locations several times in a row, only daring to show my face when he was sure no one was following me. As soon as we met, he reached out to grab the suitcase. I immediately stepped back, holding the suitcase behind my back, and asked coldly, "Where's Cam Cam?" His eyes squinted fiercely. "Give me the money, I'll tell you." I pursed my lips, and in the end I still gave him the suitcase. 200 million, that was all I could muster. He tried to carry the suitcase, felt the weight, smiled broadly, clearly satisfied. Cam Cam. She must be in some remote corner right now. My pupils contracted. He promised me that as long as I gave him the money, he would return it to Cam Cam. Okay. He lowered his head to open the suitcase to check. Seeing that it was full of cash, he immediately became impatient and reached out to pull me. Such a useless brat, if sold for 200 million, would already be worthless. Later, even the birthday gift may not be this expensive. It's better to save rice for me to feed him. Come on, come and kiss me. I can bear as many children as she wants in the future. My anger flared up, and I used all my strength to slap him across the face, making a loud slap. He was knocked over and fell to the ground, losing his balance to the point where he couldn't even get up. I stepped forward, stomped on his injured leg. My voice cold as ice, gritted my teeth. Said, "Where's my daughter?" He was in so much pain that his face was distorted, screaming miserably. "I really don't know. It's my parents, they sold it. No Van Hao, even if you kill me today I have no other choice. Think carefully." I looked at his despicable, disgusting snake. Lakai, you underestimated the madness of a mother when her daughter is in danger. I slowly reached into my backpack and took out a pair of scissors. The streetlights by the warehouse reflected a cold light on the scissors, illuminating my bloodshot eyes and the horror on his face. "I thought I wouldn't dare to cripple your other leg." I raised the scissors high and swung them down hard. "Oh, I said, Cam Cam is still at my parents' hometown. Tomorrow we will sell her." The guide's tongue stopped just an inch from his feet. I immediately stood up, pressed the microphone hidden in my hand close, and shouted out orders. "My daughter is in Huaxiong Village, Nansha Town, house number 137. Hurry and save her." Lakai realized he was being scared. His face immediately twisted. He shouted angrily, "You lied to me, you dare to play tricks with me." I calmly took out a set of needles from my pocket, my eyes cold as ice. "No, I'm not scaring you. I really want to cripple you. Oh right, I almost forgot to mention. My grandfather was the most famous doctor in this area. All of his acupuncture techniques were passed down to me, without missing a single method. I know clearly which places are the most painful to prick, which places can cure illness, and which places can cripple a person with just one needle. I know them all. This set of needles was passed down from my grandfather, extremely delicate, leaving no trace when inserted, but the effect is immediate. The first needle, Lakai was in so much pain that he cursed. What a cruel and wretched woman. The second needle, his whole body was like a frog being placed on a chopping board, immediately stiffening, falling silent, only trembling and convulsing. The third needle pierced down, and his heart immediately scattered, his gaze becoming blank. He fell limply to the ground, crying and laughing at the same time, crawling around like a madman, snot and saliva running all over the ground. This method was only a temporary stimulation of his nervous system, causing him to lose control for a moment. I found the debt collector's contact list and sent them the location. Leaving Lakai behind, I drove away. Cam Cam was brought back safely. I didn't call the police but paid to hire a group of people from a security company. When they arrived, Cam Cam, a tiny girl, was tied up in a firewood warehouse, not given any food or water for a whole day and night. Lakai's parents tried their best to stop them, but were immediately forcibly taken back by the group of bodyguards I hired. Cam's small face was covered in dirt and was filled with fear, and as soon as she saw me, she burst into tears. I held her tightly in my arms, not daring to let go no matter what. Just a few days later I saw news about Lukai on the news. Lukai had died, and before he died, he had suffered cruel torture. His body was discovered and reported to the police. Forensic examination determined that he had suffered all manner of abuse while alive, including but not limited to having boiling water poured over his head, being beaten, stabbed, and even having his genitals mutilated. Combined with the broken leg he had suffered not long before, the police quickly narrowed down the group of people who came to collect the debt. After questioning them, they insisted that Lukai had been pretending to be crazy to avoid debt, and that they had been so angry that they had used too much force to kill him. Those people were all convicted and sent to prison. In a corner where no one noticed, I quietly completed the procedures to transfer my child to another school, then left this city with my parents. Completely cut ties with those bad people. The next time I saw Van Vu was 8 years later. That day, I returned to my old neighborhood to visit my parents' friends. When I was driving around a bend, a hunchbacked woman suddenly jumped out and fell right in front of my car. I braked hard. She rolled on the ground, holding her legs, her face turned up, and she screamed, "You stabbed me, pay for it, pay for it." I got out of the Range Rover, took a closer look, and didn't expect it to be Van Vu. Her face was still beautiful, but now it was so damaged that it was unrecognizable. One leg was broken, and her back was crippled. People around her were whispering. She used to be a prostitute, but now she was ugly and had turned to being a beggar. Oh, a veteran actor, lying around this road every day looking for gullible people. When Wu recognized me, his expression immediately changed. He was extremely frightened. I smiled leisurely. "Didn't you run away with a large sum of money back then? You should have lived a happy life. How did you end up like this?" Van Vu looked at me for a long time. His eyes filled with resentment. Then suddenly he frowned, shamelessly smiling strangely. "Sis, you drive such a fancy car, your business must be doing well now, right?" I just smiled slightly, said nothing, turned around and left. She quickly grabbed my pants leg. Hey, I said. "Sister Van, how I said it." I turned my head, standing on high and looking down at her. Van Vu sighed and smiled bitterly. That bastard Lukai was dead back then. Some of the debt collectors were arrested, but the rest blamed me. I was able to pay back the principal, but they wouldn't let me go, and even forced me to pay interest. But I don't have any money left. There's no other way. They dragged me into that job. She raised her head, smiling ingratiatingly. "Sister, consider me as having received my retribution. Now that you're so rich, give me some charity. Anyway, back then you helped me see that man's true face. Otherwise I would have been fooled for a long time. I remember you took out a few $100 bills, and leisurely dropped them in front of her. She was extremely happy, immediately knelt down on the ground and took them. Holding it in her hand, she held it up to the sunlight to check, confirmed that it was real money, and immediately smiled brightly. "Hey, thank you." Then she quickly leaned on her crutches to stand up, practiced walking to the sidewalk, and stuffed the money into a tattered cloth bag. I looked at her closely and saw some kind of black pimples on her calves, which were sexually transmitted diseases. I shook my head slightly, got in the car and started the engine. People have their own fates, so I could only respect and bless them. That's all for now. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more great stories. Goodbye and see you again.